Kitco News special coverage of the Explore Convention is brought to you by Radisson Mining.
Hello, welcome to Kitco News. I'm Niels Christensen. Welcome to the Explore Mining Conference in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Joining me today is Peter Behnke from Gold Royalty Corp. Peter, welcome to the show. It's exciting to talk streamers right now.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Niels. Yeah.
So you're big. You have a vast portfolio. You just added to your portfolio with buying a portfolio from Nevada Mines, which is the joint ownership between Barrick and Newmont. Before we get into that, though, we are at a Quebec mining conference. Your royalty, your stream on Malartic is massive. Tell us about, I guess, your positioning in this marketplace.
Yeah, so Quebec's a very important jurisdiction for us, and it's one of the best mining jurisdictions in the world. We built our position here through the acquisition of Abitibi Royalties and Golden Valley Mines and Royalties last November, specifically a 3% NSR over the Odyssey project. That's the underground project at Canadian Malartic, going to be Canada's largest underground gold mine.
It's going to be a pre-production next year. We were talking to their exploration manager at this conference earlier, so it's really exciting. And Odyssey, like just Malartic, the potential in Malartic, he says, like, this is going to go on for generations. It feels like.
Yeah, that's how they describe it, and that's what gets us so excited. It's a generational asset. We'll be receiving cash flows from that asset beyond 2050. And yeah, it starts up next year with South Malartic in 2023.
And your take on the health of this market is a lot different because you are a streaming company. What are your thoughts? Like when you see sentiment, you see the gold price, the sharp declines that we saw at the start of the year, since March really. You see sentiment in the mining sector. You see these prices where they are. You are in a very different position, but what are your thoughts on the health of this market?
Yeah, it's undoubtedly a tough sentiment in the exploration, development, and producing mining companies, and primarily due to inflation across the entire sector. We've seen the majors, Newmont, Barrick, have their margins eroded, and their share prices have reflect that. It does make us thankful we're in the royalty and streaming side of the business, and the business model that provides that insulation from cost inflation. I'd caveat that we're not immune from the fall down in the equity markets, and most of the royalty and streaming peers have done the same. But coming out of this, and as the gold price rises, we feel that we're in a better position than any other type of company in the gold sector to benefit from that rising gold price.
So obviously, you've been fairly active. You bought the portfolio from Nevada Mines. But before we get into that, thoughts on Quebec? Obviously you have the Malartic. And you actually have Côté Gold in Ontario. Are there other places that you want that you're interested in? How does this look as sort of a revenue potential for you guys?
Yeah, well, as you know, we go where the geology is, but we've positioned our portfolio in the highest quality jurisdictions in the world, namely Quebec and Ontario, and also Nevada. We have a large position there. We'll continue to grow our position where there's good quality assets, and Quebec is not short of those opportunities. Malartic is our cornerstone royalty in the province, but we've got dozens, nearly over 60 royalties in Quebec. So it's a very important position for us. We have an office in Val d'Or still, and we're very focused on continuing to build our position here in the province.
What made the company attracted to the Nevada projects?
Well, the primary royalty that we picked up in that acquisition was Granite Creek, i-80's asset, part of the Lone Tree Hub and Spoke model that they're building out there. And we really like the grade, we like the quality of the asset, we like the operators, proven, done it before, and again, in a great jurisdiction. These are all aspects that were really attractive for us. The other key aspect of that acquisition was it was an all-stock deal with Nevada Gold Mines. This brought in Barrick and Newmont, the two largest producers in the sector, on as the now second largest shareholder of Gold Royalty Corp. This really is a strong validation of our story and the upside we see in our share price currently.
And we were talking really quickly offline, just about financing in the mining sector. We are seeing interest rates going up. We are seeing just market liquidity drying up as interest rates go up and financial conditions tighten. Is this where streamers shine? Like, you guys have the capital. I mean, do you see your projects being turned into mines?
Yeah, I think we're busier than ever on an evaluation standpoint. Equity markets have dried up for a lot of the explorers and developers. I'm sure you've had those discussions here at this conference. But with that increased evaluation throughput we have, it's more important than ever for us to be astute and disciplined in our capital budgeting and where we deploy our capital. As I mentioned before, our share price has also fallen off and our multiples eroded, as has most of the royalty and streaming companies. So with that, we have to be more disciplined than ever where we're putting our money.
So then, next question, you're fundamentally an investor in a mining project. What do you look for? Like, I mean, somebody, a potential investor wanting tips, because one thing we've heard is that sentiment is so bad that there's a lot of great undervalued companies, basically trading at a discount. But is that really true? Like, what do you guys look for when you are ready to make an investment? When you're ready to give your capital to somebody who, wants to build a mine or needs, further exploration?
Yeah, and it's a good question. And I think our investment thesis may be somewhat different than maybe a speculative exploration or development stage investor. Ultimately, a royalty company, we don't get paid unless the ounces are coming out of the ground.
Yeah.
We need to see the feasibility that an asset is going to be taken to production and that we will get a return on our capital. First and foremost, asset quality is the most important factor. And shortly behind that, a team and a company that's capitalized enough to see that asset brought into production. Speaking to a more speculative investor, I think there's other thesis, takeover candidates, a lot of exploration companies at very attractive valuations right now. But where we're deploying our capital is further down the development pipeline, closer to seeing the ounces coming out of the ground. Yeah.
Are there opportunities out there? Like, what does that look like right now? Are there a lot of projects that you think are ready to be taken to production? And I ask this because everybody says that companies need to replace ounces that they've taken out. There's really been this dearth in the marketplace of money going into exploration and sort of capital development, as it were. So what are your thoughts on the health of this side of the market? Are there mines ready to go into production?
Well, there are definitely some key development stage assets out there. I mean, our Côté project is expected to go into production in early 2024, depending on what happens with IM Gold as an entity. But speaking to the broader market, peak gold reserves are down 40% since their peak in 2012. And the first thing that we've seen is M&A within the sector. We saw Great Bear get taken out. We saw Pretium get acquired. And the majors are trying to replace their depleting reserves through M&A, but that's a finite universe of opportunities. And ultimately, they'll have to put money back into the ground, and we'll see that capital get reinvested into exploration. That only benefits us as a royalty holder. We don't have to spend another cent, and all that drilling that goes on increases the value of our royalties without us having to spend a cent. In terms of opportunities, I think there will be more capital needed to fund that exploration, and without equity markets being favorable to the sector, royalty and streaming is going to be an important part of funding that next leg of growth in the space.
Obviously, you're in Quebec. You love Quebec. You really like Nevada as well. Are there other jurisdictions that you want to be in? What projects are you looking at?
Yeah.
Or not specific projects, but what jurisdictions do you like?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, we'll go where the asset quality is high. We tried to invest in an asset in Côte d'Ivoire, the Séguéla project, in the beginnings of our company, and Franco-Nevada beat us to it. But I think it just speaks to we're going to go where the asset quality is strong. What I think our current portfolio gives us is a really strong foundation. I mean, 80% of our net asset value is in some of the safest and highest quality jurisdictions in the world. And on a portfolio basis, we can probably bear a bit more jurisdictional risk than some of our peers because of that.
So you bring up an interesting topic. You were beaten out by Franco-Nevada for a portfolio. What does the space look? Is it crowded? You have Franco, you have Wheaton, you have Royal Gold. You have a lot of big players in this space. How do you compete? What makes you guys unique?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very crowded space, and that's really the investment thesis or our vision when we started the company, or when David Garofalo and Amir Adnani founded the company back in 2020. It was on a vision of consolidation in the space. There are too many players, and we think there can be significant value created by combining these companies, creating critical mass, and achieving that re-rate to what the Royal Golds, the Wheatons, and the Francos enjoy, where they trade at 2 to 3 times net asset value. Everyone else in this sector is trading at 1 times net asset value or below. And without that critical mass, strong liquidity, really a meaningful institutional investor presence, there's no way for any of us to achieve that premium multiple. But through consolidation, and we've really kicked off that spur. I mean, we saw Elemental Altus, we saw Royal Gold pick up Great Bear, we saw Nomad and Sandstorm. There's a lot more consolidation happening in this sector, but there's more to come.
Where do you see it? Because I think this is interesting. You know, we also, like a few years ago, it was the consolidation of the majors, and then, you know, sort of the mid-tiers. People are expecting sort of the majors to buy out the mid-tiers. It's all very convoluted, but I mean, where do you see sort of the sweet spot in the M&A activity? Is it people buying junior explorers, or is it the mid-tier producers looking to become bigger? Is it the bigger producers looking to become major producers?
Yeah, within the producing space, I think there's significant value creation and parallels to the royalty sector as well, of putting equals or smaller companies together to create value. I think the premium multiple, like the Francos within the royalty space or the Newmont within the mining space, there's less value creation by a pure takeout. I think you have to take a premium involved, and there's really less investment rationale in that type of transaction. But I think through consolidation, or speaking more specifically to the royalty sector, that combination of smaller royalty companies, the small caps, the companies trading at 1 times net asset value, it's creating that re-rate that creates significant value for both sets of shareholders on a deal.
Peter, thank you very much for your insights. I think it's really interesting to see sort of the growth potential in the streaming sector, especially when we're in this environment. So I really appreciate your time and coming on to Kitco News.
Really appreciate that, Nels. It was great to chat.
Excellent. Thank you very much for watching Kitco News. Stay tuned for more coverage from the Explore Mining Conference in Montreal, Canada.
Kitco News special coverage of the Explore Convention is brought to you by Radisson Mining.